Working in a coal mine, I'm a lie now. 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm misrepresenting words. Lord, I'm so righteous, how much cash I must deserve. Working in a coal mine, going down deep hill. Working in a coal mine, oops, you can slip out. Working in a coal mine, shoveling a deep pile. Working in a coal mine, oops, you can slip out. First I make a lot of money, lying for the sweet Lord. But when Sunday rolls around, I'm grabbing ties for his son. I'm just working in some coal mines, going down deep hill. Working in a coal mine, oops, you can slip out. Working in a coal mine, going down the truth now. Working in a coal mine, look, I have to make it. Sound dumb. Lord, I'm so righteous, how long can this go on? Working in some coal mines, going deep in this time. Working in a coal mine, oops, can't have the truth out. Working in a coal mine, gonna hide the truth now. Working in a coal mine, oops, don't let them figure out. 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm already lying. Lord, I'm so tired, how long can this go on? Working in a coal mine, going to hide the truth now in a coal mine. Oops, can't have it slip out. Working in a coal mine, going to hide the truth now in a coal mine. Oops, you can slip out. Of course I make all my money selling bullshit by the ton. But when Sunday rolls around, I'm grabbing ties for his son, lying with no mission. Working in a coal mine, going to drown the truth now. Working in a coal mine, oops, can't have it slip out. Working in a coal mine, going to hide the truth now. Working in a coal mine, hide the truth now. Cause I make all my money selling bullshit by the ton. But when Sunday rolls around, I'm grabbing ties for his son, lying with no mission. I'm just working in a coal mine, going to drown the truth now. Working in a coal mine, some of it power. Working in a coal mine, going to drown the truth now. Working in a coal mine, Lord, I'm so tired.
All right, good morning. Good morning. Oh, I got to stop this because then I'm going to get in trouble for playing music. Because apparently you're not allowed to do that. Okay, here we go. Good morning. Welcome. It looks like somebody showed up, but I never know if that means anything. I have no technical skills whatsoever. I'm sure I could just like Google what to do, and I waste all my time doing things like making that video instead of looking up how I could have that video like start my show. I was just over at Chris's show, which is a good show, probably a better show than mine. Maybe I should recommend people go there. I don't know. Yeah, Chris Mallard has a great the Atheist Morning Show. It's on. I guess the thing is, like, I'm not going to be going up against Chris on a regular basis. People know that I'm home. I'm sick. It's been a rough couple of weeks because every time I think I'm getting better, I feel like I'm getting worse. So it's hard to say. I also know, like, you know, my daughter's fighting like a head cold. She's been feeling unwell. She went and saw the doctor on, I don't even remember what day it was, Saturday. She's got like an earache and probably like a sinus type infection. I don't know. It just seems like the most minor things are like wearing my lungs right out. And I guess that's probably just the nature of things. And yeah, I'm trying to keep my head above water. I'm trying to keep myself in a positive state of mind, you know, like having bills piling up, having, you know, not working, not being in my regular routine, feeling like less of a participant in my own life, and feeling like, you know, sitting here talking for like an hour or two seems to be like more energy than I have some days. And I'm doing this in the morning, so like I feel bad about not watching Chris's show live and stuff, but I was there for a bit saying hello. And I really, I think he puts out some great content. So I do recommend watching my show later or watching his show later. Either way, it doesn't really matter to me. I'd love it if people would watch what I'm doing and pay attention. So I've been on a recent sort of like a major tear doing AI musical versions of my lyrics and my AI art. And I've launched a few of those this weekend, and a few last week, and I've had a lot of fun doing them. I've mentioned it a few times. I'm hoping people will watch them because, like, I'm having such a good time doing them. I'm hoping people have a good time watching them and listening. And I had some great support with them recently from DC over at Say Hello to DC, who does anti-MLM content and a few other things, but mostly anti-MLM. And DC's great. She has a much bigger channel than I do, and she was super gracious to play my song on her channel. And I'm looking forward to doing a show with her soon. We've talked about it for quite a while now, and I think we're going to get that off the ground. I think DC and I are both suffering from illness, so it's a bit tricky. But I'm hoping to go back to work in about a week. I realized last week I was saying 2 weeks, but, like, 2 weeks, a week went by, so it's another week. And, I haven't felt dizzy over the weekend much. Last week I felt dizzy a few times just getting up. And obviously I can't work if I'm dizzy. I can't work if I'm not if I'm not in a good headspace. But I feel like I'm getting there. I did do some walking yesterday. I'm going to do some walking again shortly. I discovered I have a pinion seal leak in my personal truck that I'm going to have to fix. And I looked it up. It's a $35 to $40 part I'm going to have to track down. But I did reach out to my local mechanic just to see how much they'd charge to put it in, because I was looking at how much work it is and thinking about how much physical acuity I have. I looked up how to do it. It's a pretty simple job. I could do it. I think I have most of the tools I need. I gotta look up a couple more videos where they list the tools just to double check. But it looks like it's more of a pain in the ass than anything. And with my physical abilities right now, I question if I can lay down on my back in my garage and fiddle with it. And I have to drop the drive shaft to do it. So it's not a nothing job, right? I got to take what do you call it? There's a universal joint there to take apart. It's not insane. Like, I mean, tow drivers do this stuff all the time. They'll take that out, hang it up, and if you're not taking the pinion yoke out, it's not that big a deal. But it is something that sits under the truck and gets seized up, and so there's a lot of hoping things come apart easily too, right? And then if something goes wrong, I'd have a vehicle that doesn't run. So I'm really thinking about that one this morning. I may get to it. If it warms up a bit, I think I'll feel a little more comfortable doing it. And there's a couple of shops near me that sell vehicle parts. So I'm going to make some calls after this. But I thought, well, I've got the energy. I'll hop on here and, have a chat with people and talk about some of the things I've been thinking about over the weekend. I also want to do a shout out to Deep State Annex. Let me come on and shoot the shit with them on the weekend, and then my family came home and I had to go deal with something there, and then I ended up I don't know, I got distracted by something after that once we got things sorted out. But I think it was maybe my wife was coming home with the groceries or something. I can't remember what was going on, or they were coming home from the barn. Oh, there we go. Trucking across the universe, Starship Enterprise under Captain Kirk. Yes. Hey, Beamsy, good to see you. Hope you're doing all right. So yeah. So I thought what I'd talk about this morning, because I'm also working on my fellowship project, and I thought what would be a good thing for me to do is talk about some of the things that have come up over the last week or so that is a bad thing. What is a bad thing? I don't know. I'll trucking across the universe on Starship Enterprise. Yeah, well, I don't know if it is a bad thing. If you were all right, you would only have one leg and would fall over. Yeah, I guess that's right. It's not very left, but it is right. And if you've only got one right leg left, what are you going to do about that, Beamsy? I don't know. It's one of those things. And I think Beamsy, like me, likes word play and word games. They can be fun. You could be hopping mad, yeah. I'm always told to stop making jokes about amputees. But I feel like I'm allowed to because I cut off the end of my finger. They sewed it back on, so I guess I was only allowed to make those jokes while the finger was partially detached. I'm not sure. If you're an amputee and you want to have an opinion about that, please put one in there. But please know that I don't actually want to offend anybody who's missing any limbs. Having dealt with some stuff, having dealt with some stuff myself with mobility issues and stuff, I realize it isn't all that funny. Although a lot of the people that I've met that have issues of one kind or another, amputees and any other thing, they usually have a pretty good sense of humor about it. But sometimes that's like a defense mechanism. Like I have a sense of humor about how big I am, and I'll throw out jokes about it before anyone else does. It's it is a defense mechanism, and that was one of the things I wanted to talk about. Because sometimes people say things to me, and I realize what's going on is they're speaking from a place of ignorance, but not necessarily like of ill meaning. I guess maybe that's a good way to put it. Yes, and you're armless because I'm trying to disarm people, right? And that's the way to say it. It's like if you take control of the conversation with a defense mechanism, you do leave people disarmed. There's one reason I'm mostly left is I'm missing chunks on my right. BMZ, I don't think I was aware of that. So I guess if you are indeed a partial amputee, I get it. And I also feel like you need your one good arm. Yeah, and I actually ripped apart my right arm, but they rebuilt a bunch of it for me. And so I have some pretty big scars. I don't know if they'll come out on the camera here. I don't think they will. I think the sun's sort of washing it out. I sometimes show off my scars, but yeah, I've had a pretty big surgery done on my arm. But they made everything work again. And if you don't like scars, sorry. It's so tiny. Yeah, my arms, you mean? Yeah. Or the scars. I'm not sure. Anyway, yeah, no, my daughter actually had a major arm injury too. So, this stuff is serious, but it is also something that people have a sense of humor about, right? And I have a sense of humor about being a big fat guy sometimes. Depends on the situation. Yeah, the scars. Yeah, they actually did a pretty good job on that. My Discord, you know what, Beamsy? It's the same as here. It's Al Trucker. You can look me up down there, Al Trucker. I'm on there. Some real scars. Yeah, I'm sure you can, Beamsy. A lot of people have had major injuries. My daughter's scars are way bigger than mine from the injury she had, and it was scary. I hope she doesn't ever watch this. I don't want her to know that I was ever scared about it. I told her everything was going to be fine. But yeah, when she was younger, she had a major injury. It was a rough time. Anyway, that having been said, we don't have to talk about that particular thing. It's not something that I want to get into the specifics of, but we want to get into specifics of where people have bad information about obesity, because that's the thing I'm dealing with. That's my main raison d'etre, is to help people understand about obesity and its comorbidities. And so I had a conversation last week, and actually I should figure out a way to link these things. I know I can just like copy and paste them. I had a conversation last week with this guy named Mr. Slave, who I've talked about, who Dr. Tap had a conversation with. And I guess this guy streams out his content. And he's a bit of an odd duck. And I'm not saying he's a bad guy. Hard to read him, actually. I don't think he's entirely in touch with reality, but at the same time, he's trying to come up with solutions for things, like a universal theory of everything. But he's being really funky and funny about it. And I guess what I should do is just start out by saying his I don't know if it's epistemology. I should look up the meanings of those words to make sure I don't screw it up. How he decides what is and isn't right is based on how he feels about it. And that's not really a good way to come to conclusions. And so I'm going to start out by saying that I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to ignore hard solipsism, which is this idea that you know, I don't even know if that's the right way to say it, but it's the concept that this is all just a simulation. We're just all like characters in some sort of a video game type thing or some sort of a computer simulation. Okay, fine. What if we are? I've been programmed to think we're not, if that's the case. So I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing. That's my argument for that. It's like, if that's the case, I was programmed to like dismiss that. So I'm going to go on as programmed and say that's not what's going on. Is that a good way to come up with an opinion? I don't know. But like, I don't feel like anything that I encounter seems like a computer simulation, whereas there's other things I see that aren't. Feelings are here. You get the extremes of both the religious and the wokies. Yeah, and Beamsy, I don't know what you mean by that exactly. And I know Beamsy's had some run-ins with the community and run-ins with me too, because I'm not happy with certain things he's said or done. But that doesn't mean I'm going to defend without any sort of caveat anything that anyone else has done in return. So I think, or in the first place, because I believe Beamsy's side of it is that he was the first one to be attacked or whatever. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that right now because I'm trying to have a topic. Hey, Sumami, good to see you. I'm trying to have a topic here that has nothing to do with that. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna go on about that topic, and if people want to chime in on it, that's fine. And if Beamsy's not getting into things that I feel are inappropriate, then I'm gonna let him have his say in the side chat as well, because I think that's fair. You're up still after feeding the babies. Yeah, no, and that's fair, Beamsy. I appreciate that you understand that I'm not happy with what was said, and that doesn't mean that I'm going to defend what someone else did. I can't remember all the details, but I remember some of them, and it's really, I'm just going to leave that to the side, and unless people insist on bringing that up and bringing it up on my channel here is something. I'm the one mentioning it, but I'm mentioning it because I realize there's been some conflict in the community. And yeah, I wasn't involved in it, and I'm gonna stay out of it until I'm forced to be involved in it. Other than to say I wasn't happy with it, but I heard about it after the fact. And to be fair, Beamsy said to me exactly what it was from his point of view that was done, and we'll leave it at that. I'm going to talk about a conversation I had with Mr. Slave earlier this weekend. It was kind of fun to have the conversation. But Mr. Slave was talking to me this weekend about how he's decided how the universe works. And he's basically just said, well, I feel like the universe should not have problems where general relativity and quantum mechanics don't work with each other. And he's used calculus. And in going over it with Dr. Tap quickly, I think what I've realized is he's basically just swapping gravity for what he calls ether, or aethered. I usually say it aether to differentiate it from ether, which is a substance that I use in a can to start engines that don't want to get going because they got carb issues or whatever. And in my business, I have more than one time had to start an engine with ether, unfortunately, and it's a little scary because it's a pretty volatile chemical. But anyway. It's very flammable and sometimes explosive, but it will get an engine going. And sometimes that'll help. But yeah, when they're talking about this aether, they're just saying there's this material that's everywhere. And so what Mr. Slave is suggesting, I think, although he says this isn't what he's saying, although it's, to be fair, we didn't finish the conversation. This is to give you an idea of the conversation I did have with him. And then it reminded me of something else. What? So he's standing in a centrifuge washing machine. I don't know, Sumami. That was a failed image for some medical footage I'm looking for my work. And I thought the woman she turned out quite attractive, but she wasn't in the setting or the clothing I wanted her in. So I kept her for just doing fun stuff on the internet in terms of channel branding and stuff like that. And I like showing for work. Well, for my work in my fellowship, I'm making AI generated characters, and I'm trying to. You're working today. Still, oh, it's good to see you, Top. Glad you're here. So yeah, no, for work. So Sumami, what I'm saying is, I kept the imagery because I thought she looked great, but she's not wearing the right clothing for what I'm trying to do. So AI sometimes puts outfits on people that I don't ask for. So I might have said that she's supposed to be wearing like a t-shirt, and it decided she's wearing a swimsuit or something that looks like a swimsuit. In the I believe is the image I used. I could be wrong. I can't remember which thumbnail. I had to pick from 5 or 6 of them this morning, and I think I know which one you're talking about. But yeah, so I was just like, well, she's attractive. She's a woman who lives in a larger body. She's representing what I want to do. You're watching videos of Dan Jones rambling about English kings for science. Absorb none of it. Okay, all right. Well, and I'm going to get back on my fellowship work. I did a bunch of image generation yesterday, and I didn't get exactly what I wanted. And I got to talk to my partner this week and see if he's got a chance for us to sit down. Research is research. So this particular guy, this Mr. Slave, I'll try to find links to the conversation I had with him on his channel, because he posts this stuff on his YouTube channel. But if you just type in Mr. Slave, you're going to get a lot of stuff from South Park, because I think he borrowed his name from a South Park character, which is fine. Lots of people do stuff like that. And so in talking to him about this stuff, to me, it seemed like a lot of what he was saying is he didn't like the way the math works out. So he's just saying, I just dismiss it. The math is it works with classical mechanics, and that's just the way it is. And we didn't get to the full end of it, but we made it through most of his slides in his what he calls a paper. It's not a scientific paper. It's not something you can publish in a journal, because it's basically just him making claims. He's done some math, but the math is pretty basic. Once he explained to me what he did, or he did it. Mr. Slave Stick of Truth Mechanics. Okay, I don't know what that is. Beamsy, but when you say do not in block caps, I'm assuming everyone is rushing to Google that right this minute, because I know how the human mind works. So the conversation about quantum mechanics and about general relativity and about gravity and all that stuff is just him saying, well, I don't like it. I don't like that. I don't like that this is the way things work, and that Einstein came up with something that better describes and more fully describes what's going on, right? Oh, not safe for work. Yeah, I don't know if Sumami's workplace or mine is overly worried about what we Google at work, because like at my workplace, if I'm Googling something on my personal phone, it means I'm on my personal time, and I literally have personal time in a company vehicle. I do not, other than just listening to programs, there's nothing I'm doing while I'm driving down the road that would be NSFW, although some people may say some words that are inappropriate, but I'm not watching videos or anything that would be considered not safe for work. And oh, she has you blocked. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Well, regardless, and you know what? I'm not going to force people to get along. And I'm just going to leave all that to the side. But regardless, Sumami is here, and I appreciate her very much. She's a tremendous community member. I know I've mentioned on other streams I've done that if you go to her channel, you will end up seeing a lot of cat pictures. And I think importantly, we don't need to worry about interpersonal relationships between characters in the side chat at the moment. Mr. Slave had this other conversation with me, and this conversation about where he comes up with his ideas about where things are at is like how he feels. Like he's like, I wish basically that classical mechanics was simple enough to describe everything in the universe, but the universe doesn't owe us being simple. And he also said in a conversation with Dr. Tapp that I was present for and not directly involved in most of the time. I think I might have chimed in a couple of times, and I'm pretty sure he streams this to his channel, but I'm not 100% sure. But he does a lot of these conversations. He makes content from, and it's not like he's a major creator or anything, but he's interested in having conversations. I appreciate that he wants to have conversations, but he had a conversation with me in what I believe was a private Discord conversation, but it may not have been. It was fairly clear that it was just a private chat. And it was a text chat too, but so that's why I don't think it was being streamed. Like, it wasn't a voice chat in this case, but he was talking to me about how big I am, because he wasn't aware that I had a channel, and he came and checked it out. He's like, "Oh yeah, you live with obesity and like whatever," and but he's just like, "You're too big. You got to lose weight." And I'm like, "Yeah." I don't know what to say to people that tell me that, because it's just kind of like, yeah, I fucking know. Sometimes one of the things people don't understand is that, like, when you're looking at me at, like, say 330, and I once weighed 405, and you tell me I need to lose weight, is like, yes, I still need to lose weight. I know how to lose weight. I've lost weight. I know how this works, right? Yeah, Beamsy, congratulations. I'm glad your eyes work. Yeah, you can see I'm a big fat motherfucker, right? And it causes me a lot of grief. It really does. It causes me a lot of grief to live with obesity. But obesity is a disease and a metabolic condition in my case, and it's obesity and its symptoms and its comorbidities are not the same for every single person. But a lot of very similar things tend to happen to people who live with obesity. And I usually refer people to get the best information. I refer people to Obesity Canada. Um, yeah, no, Beamsy, I appreciate that. Like, and if people do have Beamsy blocked, that's fair. But he just said, you are dealing with it as you have said, so no need to bring it up. Well, fair enough. But this guy didn't know me from a hole in the ground prior to this, and we'd only had this conversation about how things work when it comes to like relativity, quantum mechanics, classical mechanics / Newtonian mechanics, which is what Beamsy is calling it. And so I have a great deal of sort of interest in this as an amateur scientist, I guess I'm going to call myself, because I do like to check into things and have opinions about them. And as I've said many times, my interest in obesity and biology and medicine and stuff like that isn't an innate interest. It's an interest that comes from having been born in a body that just works a certain way. And when I look at the genetic component of it and how many people in my family deal with similar issues, I have a lot of blood relations that are dealing with very similar things. And it goes back, and I look at pictures of like blood ancestors of mine who have dealt with obesity long, long ago, like long before modern food um, things came into, like, people that say it's from fast food and processed food and stuff like that. Well, that didn't exist for them, and they still were able to put on an extreme amount of excess adipose tissue. And so, when it comes to stuff like that, I get, I get into how do I understand this? How do I understand what's going on with me? Why does my body do this? Why is my body so reluctant to give it up? And why do I have the cravings I do for certain types of food? And why do I deal with food? Why do I have a poor relationship with food sometimes? And other times I'm able to like just treat it as fuel. And why do I beat myself up inside my own head and stuff like that? Because there's a lot going on. Yeah, and Beamsy's talking about Newtonian mechanics or laws of motion and stuff like that, and that stuff works. Yeah, and Sumami, this is funny. My children are perfect and chubby and cute. Like, comments, yeah, even being in the game, yeah. So there's a big conversation in obesity medicine. And actually, this came up last year at a conference, and I got my ire up about it a little bit, and I don't think people wanted to hear what I had to say. Um, but I want to prevent obesity as a disease from being something that's suffered by children. My own children have the genetic predisposition for it. They may or may not have to deal with it. My daughter, I think, is already dealing with it to some degree. My daughter's also extremely active and is concerned about her food intake and eating good food. And so it's a bit of a double-edged sword when this comes up. That I want to prevent obesity, but I don't want to put. I don't think all the money that ever comes into helping medicine should be used for just one thing. And I also think that things can happen simultaneously and in harmony with one another. For instance, I'm I'm absolutely determined to control and eliminate obesity as a disease from being a part of everyone's life as much as possible. I don't want young people to get this disease. I don't want them, even though they may have a predisposition for it, to be saddled with it unnecessarily. But that does not mean that I don't want people that are already living with it, people that are already alive and living, should not have to suffer with it more than absolutely necessary. And finding ways to treat it are not necessarily going to be in some sort of a diametric opposition to ways to prevent it. So, for instance, if we can isolate certain things about hormones and genetics and the endocrine system and things like that that are predisposing people to live with obesity. And if we can look at the difference between people that have childhood obesity versus people that develop obesity or overweight conditions in adulthood, which is not my case. I was one that developed it at sort of at puberty onward. And like these things affect people in different ways. And there are also children who are prepubescent who live with obesity, and that's another set of circumstances altogether. But still, all of those things need to be looked at. And young children, babies that are being born now to our world, I don't want them to grow up to live with obesity, or if they are predisposed to do that, I'd like to divert them from that to live in a body that has less trouble interacting with the world. But well, all that having been said, the fact is I have this enormous body and I have to get around in it. I have to work in it. I have to live with it. I also have to deal with the fact that because of this situation with having a larger body and having comorbidities that are like often correlated with and possibly even causally linked with obesity, the disease I had that was a short-term one, the illness I had that infected my lungs, is probably taking me longer to recover from. Hey, Brainless, welcome. Good to see you. Good to see you, Brainless. Brainless, I don't know why you're not a mod here, but I don't know how to. Oh, I gotta go there. That's so hard for me to do. How do I do this? So strange. I go to my videos. I'm trying to figure out how to do this. Right, dashboard. No, this is like a way to look at things. Okay, it's not going to work. Okay. Yeah, okay, so Beamsy said something important here. I'm going to read it out. I think I can put this on the screen here, right? You have the people who have genetic issues and need help to get through it and needs research to help those who need it. Others from trauma, and that's where mental health needs to be less. Yeah, and so yeah, but I don't think I can I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do it from here. I need to go into YouTube to do it. And I'm just trying to figure out how to do it. There's got to be a way, right? Live. Like my own channel isn't coming up. My videos. She just keeps going into channel content, which is not what I need. I need to look at my own channel somehow. This is so weird. I don't know what I'm doing. History. Home. Oh, Jesus. I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna just the next time I do it. Hey Zach, good to see you. I need to be on my own chat. Yeah, and I can't seem to get there. I'll figure it out though. I'll figure it out. So yeah, and yeah, Brainless. It's not. I think. I mean, as long as Sumami's here and I'm here, I'm sure I can figure out a way to sort things out. Anyway, Sumami's here and she's a mod, and if I ask her for some help, she will definitely help me out. So yeah, good to see you, Zach. Good to see you, Brainless. So I appreciate what you're saying there, Beamsy. Absolutely. Boy, the English Fister is here. Yeah. So when you have someone who doesn't understand that just saying to someone, well, you need to lose weight, just get at it, is their mentality. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying there. Yeah, I guess I could probably do that. Could I do it from my phone? Okay, I'm getting okay. That's the last thing I got, but not necessarily. Okay, there you are. There you are. Oh, look at you. Yeah. Okay. Here it is. Here is this thing. Okay. Thank you. Visit site. Okay. Here I am. Okay. I got to shut myself off here. And there we go. I can do that. There we go. Okay, Brandless. Now you're a mod. Now you're a mod. I'll make other people mods as we go along. When I decide they need to be. But Brainless and I have been hanging out for long enough. Yeah, so I'm probably gonna lose people too, because I think not only is Chris going, but I think Brentley's going now too. Or he's about to be going. Okay, part of the problem with losing weight is more to do with terrible food making, bad carbohydrate. Yeah, so this is part of it. Yeah. Harder to burn than normal ones, and so there's a lot that goes on. So I'm gonna try to the brainless mod. So I'm gonna you're just lucky enough to come from a military background. Yeah, so move more, eat less is the research on move more, eat less is not going to work for everyone. My understanding is that as a whole, as a society as a whole, it's not going to work for the vast majority of people. There are people for whom, especially people that put on weight later in life, like if you weren't like born into a family of people living with obesity or overweight conditions who are like it doesn't appear to be a genetic predisposition. It may be that it's come on as you've become more sedentary, and that sedentary experience allows your body to like store more fat. But in my case, and like so like in my case, it's like my father, other members of his family, grandparents and that side, and great grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins of mine. There's this huge amount of people in the family who have had to live with obesity. And so for me, it's genetic, and genetics is a really big marker of it. And I'll talk about that in a second, Zach. I appreciate you bringing that up. It's actually something I was thinking about again. Yeah, and so Beamsy brings up a good point too. So mainly no energy to make real food just from internal. Yeah, so brainless is a single person living alone, is eating eating food in not the best manner, say, right? Like not the best type of food. A lot of the quick easy things to make are prepackaged super processed foods. And super processed foods do tend to be high in carbs. And I've been eating more carb laden food as I've been sitting around at home, and also in part because my wife and I have been trying to come up with cheaper ways to eat while I've been off work because my pay has been severely curtailed. So like these are all things that are going on, and that's a problem for people around the world all the time. I think that's something we should think about. So Zach brings up something. So there is some research on this, and I've talked to people in the industry. I'd love to read some more papers on it because I've only read a couple of like what seem to be anecdotal pieces, but maybe the more research will be done. Part of the problem is people don't want to have this done. But I read a so this is like aside from there being something wrong with their genetics, poop transplants are the way to go. Get the gut biome working better. So gut biome stuff is something that is being researched, and it's it's pretty important to think about what goes on in the gut, because gut health, like like a lot of people will be like, oh, I got into this because the endocrine system, hormones are the reason, or gut biome is the reason, or blood type is the reason, or brain chemistry is the reason for obesity. Like I've met people from all sorts of different specialties, and they all believe they found the one key, and that's just not true. There isn't one key. There are different things that affect different people in different ways, and I appreciate the fact that Beamsy brought up mental health, and so did I think somebody else brought it up too. But I bring it up often, right? Yeah, that's another thing is I was told not to worry too much about what's going on with my health because I was on so many different antibiotics for so long that I should expect my gut biome to be fucked up, and it has been. It has been. I was also told don't just add things in. Wait until I've recovered. So I may be at the point where I can start recovering now. I also ended up getting 2 vaccines last week, which have made me really tired. But other than that, it's been good. So I got a flu vaccine for this season, and I also got a vaccine against typical pneumonias, not the one that got me this time around, but to help me fight pneumonia in the future, because I have had pneumonia in the past. People are saying things quickly in the chat. I'm going to try to keep up with them. But this is like Zach is saying this. Zach's at Shaken Fist also has a great channel to check out. Through things like antacids and taking medications, all sorts kill the bacteria that digest our foods. There's so much we don't know. What we'll be finding out is great. Yeah, no, it is. And so there was one particular case where a woman was dealing with a problem, and I can't remember if it was the mother or the daughter of the family had a problem with gut bacteria, and also was living in a larger body. The other one lived in a normal body, and the one that was living with obesity or an overweight condition was not previously that way. This had come on over some time. And when they did a poop transplant, which is a really sort of gross thing to think about, but what this does is it helps get good gut bacteria into the gut. That's what it's about. So by having like a family member who lives in the same area, eats the same food or whatever, it's super weird, right? It's a super weird thing. So how many people are you going to be able to get to try this? Like, not very many. Most people are going to be like, holy fuck, no, I'm not doing that, right? But it's something that has been done. It freaks people out, but the idea is to try and get good gut flora going. It is something that people can't figure out, right? There are poop pills to stimulate your gut bacteria. Yeah, and that's right, Brandis. There are some pills, but those ones are really generalized. And so what you're doing is you're taking a pill that's I forget the word they use for it. There's the ones that use like acidophilus milk or something. There's some sort of bacteria in that. Can I bake? Assuming you're not talking about smoking weed, yes. My daughter actually loves cooking and baking. And one of the things we do in our house is I eat separate food because I seem to have issues with gluten, so I don't eat wheat gluten. As in bread. No, I don't bake bread, but I could bake bread for sure. I was working all through the pandemic, so I didn't become a pandemic bread baker. Don't fuck with my ecosystem to start with unless I have to take antibiotics. So, Sumami, no, I agree. You shouldn't fuck with things you don't have to fuck with. Now, I was talking to Dr. Patton about this a number of months ago, and I said, like what kind of research is there done on this? And he said, like, people are talking about it, but there's really no great research. Sourdough. Okay, so I think what you're saying is the sourdough has some helpful things. Brainless loves people that cook and bake. Yeah, he does. Yeah, well, I hope Brainless does the dishes too. You're right, Sumami. Sourdough doesn't naturally restore a lot of your gut. Okay, that's interesting, Beams. I'll look into that. Because I also like what I usually do is I don't usually eat wheat. So I've been eating a lot of cereal to try and help my fiber intake in the morning, but my wife has been going and finding me high fiber, high protein cereals that are gluten free, and she's been doing a good job at picking them out. Some of the ones I was having earlier is were a little bit better quality. Your starter is 20 years old. Okay. Yeah, I know. And people talk about this being. I've heard this before, Beamsy, but I'll look into it again because I don't remember all the ins and outs. But I know getting the sourdough thing, and people sell the starters for them, right? Like they break them down, and I can't remember how that works. I'm gonna look into it, but I've seen people advertising them. So I'm sure people have some good ones out there. I'll check into that. That's interesting. The bottom line, though, is I don't expect to just start eating a certain type of bread and all of a sudden I won't be living with obesity anymore. I'm expecting that living with obesity is something I will always do, even after I get bariatric surgery, that's the track I'm on right now. So, for people that don't know what my situation is, I'll try to figure this out really quickly. And I hope I remembered to log in yesterday. So I've been on my Fitness Pal, which has been sold and bought a bunch of times. They keep trying to sell me a 1 month free trial to their like premium thing. So I'm going to go to my weight. Okay. So I have my weight going back to the beginning of time. I don't know if you can see this. This is my weight. This is what's happened to Al Trucker's weight over the years. And if you look at the top, the top up here. Oh, what did I just do? No, I'm not trying to enter a weight. Up here. This is when I was at my highest weight. That was when I was at 405 pounds. I'm just gonna check this out. Okay, so in from 2023 to 2024, I went from being 360 pounds to being where I'm at now in the 330s. I've also been as low as 325, and this thing's still showing me at 325. So I guess I did weigh myself, but I didn't save the weight. The earliest date. So this goes back. I can't remember how many years. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got at least 7 years, but I think there's more than that on here. This is all the ones I have, but I think it goes back even further. So the thing is, back in August when I came home from the hospital, I was in the 320s anyway. And so 3 years ago, I was at 405 pounds. And I dropped a lot of weight, and it went back up again. But over the course of like a half a year, I dropped, then I came back up. When you were in the Navy, you're 397. So Beamsy, yeah, and that's in pounds. Beamsy's, I'm pretty sure, Australian. Beamsy, if I fuck that up, let me know. But I'm 99% sure you're Australian. And yeah, being in the Navy is a lot of work, and I can't imagine it's less work when you weigh that much. You're 6'4", yeah. So like so it's 6'4", which is quite tall. 397 pounds is going to be worn. Yeah, thunder from down here. So it's 6'4". It's going to wear on you a little bit different than me, but it's still a pretty big body to live with. Even at 6'4", right? Now, if it was all solid muscle, like if you were like, Eddie Hall or something like that, in terms of like your muscle mass, like, that's different. And I'm in there. I'm in that ballpark to a point, but I've got way too much excess adipose tissue accumulating on mostly my belly. But yeah, it's terrible. My weight a year and a half ago down to 340. Now I can't get past it. My back is fucked. And you're 6'3". Yeah, so like what I'm lacking is I lack height. And I was trying to explain to Dr. Tapp, and I were having a conversation because he and I are really good friends, but we've never met in person. That's something that'll probably change, I would guess, in the next year or so. It'll depend on what kind of travel either one of us manages. But I'm not making any plans to do anything until I can get back to work and get back to normal. But we were talking about, like, Dr. Tapp's pretty tall too. I think he's 6 foot. I want to say he's 6'4", but I could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure that's how tall Dr. Tapp is. And my fellowship partner and I met in person, and we took a picture. And I'm not going to show a picture of him. That's not fair. I'm not going to even say who he is, but he's over 6 feet tall as well. There's a picture of the two of us, and he's also someone that's lived with obesity. And so like there's a picture of us side by side, and you can see that, despite the fact that he's taller than I am like way broader in the shoulders. I'm just a bigger guy. You can tell that I weigh more, but you can also see that like I'm just on a wider frame. Um, it's probably hard to tell like when I'm just sitting here because I could have my camera anywhere, right? Like I do Zoom chats with people for this fellowship, and some of the people have teeny tiny heads that are like, this big, and they're down here, and they just, there's one woman who like I always feel like it's very funny because like she holds her camera. I don't want to make fun of her, but she doesn't watch this. Like she holds her camera like this, and so she's like, her head is like, and it's like her head is like really small, and she's got her camera like this, and the rest of her room is there, and I'm like, why do you look like that? But that's what she chose, right? And then I sort of have chosen to like have myself here, you know, big and filling up the whole thing. But what my point is that you can't tell from a camera angle what someone is like, right? I'm too short for your weight. You're 286 and 6'5". Yeah, why is it that all the people I interact with online are super tall? Zach is over 6 feet tall. Beamsy's over 6 feet tall. Brainless is over 6 feet tall. I made a mistake. Okay, and I've said this many times. I made the mistake of not growing to be 3 feet taller because then I would be the perfect height for my weight. Very thin in your 20s. I cooked and I pile on the weight, not being able to move. Eating chocolate gâteau. Well, that's, in case you don't know, that's chocolate cake. Because gâteau is just French for cake. You raised in the late 80s and early 90s, so got all the beef hormones. Okay. 5'1", you whoop all our asses. Well, so mommy, I'm sure you would. And one thing for sure is Sumami is a very strong character, and being strong of character is more important than anything else. And I'm 5'8". I think I used to be pretty close to 5'10" back when I was a very young man, and my back wasn't all messed up. Oh, Brainless, what are we gonna do with you? Yeah, Brainless would probably enjoy it. Brainless would enjoy it. Anyway, Brainless and Sumami can figure that out later. None of that is any of my business. I don't want anything to do with it. People should live the lives they want to live, though, and I'm not gonna say anything. Sumami, you got the center of balance. My missus is 5'1". She can ragdoll you. Yeah, Zach. Well, my wife is shorter than I am, but not by a hugely appreciable amount. I think my wife is 5'5". I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure my wife doesn't want me talking about her on here. So let's just say I have a wife. It means better say a rich patisserie, not just cake. Yeah. Okay. Well, we don't need to talk about all these like cakes and confectionaries and pastries and the patisserie is all the wonderful things. So the thing is, like, these things used to be just part of what we would eat, and some people seem to be able to do it with impunity. But there's a lot to say about height to weight ratios are not that important, and as Beamsy points out here, this is a good point. You're bigger now. You cannot fit in your Navy clothes and you're 280 pounds. Yeah, and so what that means is, and this is a thing that people deal with is that your muscle mass, your fat to weight, your fat ratio, your fat to lean mass ratio has a lot more to do with how things sit than anything else. You get told, I'm just trying to make people fat. Oh, you're a pastry chef. Yeah. Well, fair. You know what, Beamsy? This is just the way it is. People blame all sorts of things, but body chemistry, mindset, mental health, and and when I say body chemistry, I'm talking about a whole bunch of different things, but a lot of it has to do with hormonal regulation is huge. for a lot of people. And hormones actually help regulate mental health to some degree as well. So when people talk about their feelings, feelings are a really bad way to figure out what's going on with quantum mechanics. But feelings, when we talk about like how your body feels, like chemicals being released in your body to help you feel a certain way, those things are meant to encourage you to do things that your body needs or thinks it needs. And when that stuff gets dysregulated, things go wrong. And then you can end up with people like myself that live with type 2 diabetes, which is also, there's a huge genetic component for that. Type 2 diabetes is more genetically correlated, and there's a bigger causal link between genetics and type 2 diabetes than there is with type 1 diabetes. And type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes, I like to just put the two together. People like to separate them, but I think we do a lot better working together. And this is something I've learned in working as a patient advocate, is that we do better working together for better medicine for both diseases, and by treating them as one. They're different parts of a similar disease. They're part of the same category of disease. They're not exactly the same. They work differently, but it's just really, really difficult to get people on the same page when they're fighting each other or there's infighting in it. And that's something that we've talked about in our fellowship, is about, like, we shouldn't be working across. Um, so okay, so advantages, background, it's easier to get the weight down after putting it on. Okay. And there are cures for it now, and that's not a very viable one. I'm assuming you're talking for diabetes. And then Zach says, we realized diabetes with autoimmune, a couple of other things, and it made shiz happen quick. But I'm not sure if you're talking about diabetes or you're talking about stuff. There are cures on the horizon for both. Yeah, no, and so one of the things that's interesting in talking to the people I work with in diabetes medicine and advocating for patients, is that there's been a lot of like situations where they've been able to cure diabetes. Okay, thank you for clarifying, Zach. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. And we're talking about like a specific thing that you're dealing with. Your best mate has type 1. Okay, well, and I wish them really well. It's very scary to have type 1 because um the and type 2 is scary too, because people think type 2 is no big deal because you just brought it on yourself. Well, I did not bring it on myself any more than I brought obesity on myself. People that think I picked this are fucking crazy. And I'm not trying to diagnose you with a mental state. I'm just saying, if you think people pick this on purpose and that our reason for not having it sorted out is not being told, is fucked, right? Yes, Beamsy, you're going to hell for that. Look, Beamsy, I'll talk about this all day long if I need to, because it's a crisis. Okay, and so what I call your mother-in-law has type 2. Um and yeah, no, and it's prevalent. It's prevalent. My father had type 2 diabetes. My I was trying to think. There's other people. My father's grandmother had it. I don't think his mother had it, although she may have. I'm not sure. There's a lot of not sharing things in my family have been pretty great ways to make sure nobody knows what's going on. You don't always blame people for it because they think they're all like a cold or an STI, and an STI. STIs can be spread without without blaming people for their behavior. I mean, people like to shame people for having sexual intercourse, but a lot of people take lots of precautions and still things spread. That's also unfair. And the cold, um, you can blame people for getting a cold too, but like, I mean, fuck, people have to live their lives. I don't even think that's realistic. Type 2 is gluten intolerant, if I remember it. Celiac disease. Yes, celiac disease is a pretty terrible condition. It could cause people a lot of issues. And it can be like a lot of things that people don't realize. What happens in prison? I don't know, Lori. Hello, Lori, by the way. Thanksgiving. Okay. Yeah, I'm Canadian, so we just had our Thanksgiving like a week and a bit ago. So yeah, I'm sort of um Gluten and low sugar sausages. Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. Beamsy, thank you for um yeah. That's nice for your grandfather must have enjoyed that. Think automatically. Then think it went well, type it well. Just meaning the way people, yeah. Um my wife is sending me a message. Uh hmm. She's reminding me I got to find a piece of paper, and I've been doing this for an hour. So I'm gonna wrap this up in about 15 minutes, and I'm gonna go find this piece of paper because I need it because it's important. Um, I'm gonna wrap this up because I'm not really getting anywhere too far with this, but I'm gonna threaten to do something I've threatened to do many times, and I'm gonna get into this a little bit more. So I don't think Sumami liked the suggestion. I'm gonna look into the transplant that people talk about. Do you know what they do the day after? Yeah, they get the new boys to toss it. Oh boy. Beamsy, holy shit. Anyway. Um Beamsy, you're incorrigible. But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna stop people from having silly conversations in the side chat because we're all adults here. This channel is not for children, by the way. Prison, yeah, I don't want to. Lori is going to be very sad that came here and met Beamsy today. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure, anyway. But yeah, welcome though, Lori. And Lori, if I don't know, I don't recognize your name, but I probably know you from some other channel where I hang out and you hang out, or you've just found me by happenstance. You never know. But I'm terrible with names, so please don't take it personally. And if you found me by one way or another, please let me know. But welcome regardless, and I apologize for Beamsy. Um, Beamsy's a character. Um, so I'm gonna look into more of this stuff, and one of the things I was gonna do is when my main contact at Obesity Canada gets back from traveling. You found a link on the Discord server. Okay, very good. Okay. You weren't here earlier. Okay, and you know what? So, Lori, I've been interacting with people on a few different Discords, so that doesn't surprise me. So today I'm talking about one of my favorite topics, which is living with obesity and how to improve it, and where we're at with research. So my intention is to talk to them about getting some more access to papers because it, getting access to good papers is difficult without having some means of doing that, but we have those means. And one of the things people hesitate to do with people like myself that aren't really well read academically, which I'm not, although I'm working on becoming so, um is that people take a person like me who's a truck driver and they're just like, well, you're not going to have the acuity with language and jargon to understand what's going on. You won't be able to read. It's better that someone else just explains to you what it says, or you just read pop sci articles or whatever. That's not just aimed at me specifically. That's just aimed at the public in general. But pop sci articles are difficult. Now, I have one weird thing about me is that I am a published co-author on a scientific paper. I've been through the process. With that same gentleman I'm talking about, who I considered both a friend and a colleague in patient advocacy and in advocacy for people living with disease in general and obesity specifically. And I've been really lucky to be able to do that. Yeah, yeah, and you're right, Zach. But finding a list of them and knowing which ones are good is difficult. Yeah, read with a dictionary next to you. Yeah, and I actually have some acuity with the English language. And even some specialty language. And it is easy enough to look stuff up, like you say, Beamsy. And so what I'd like to do, and Beamsy, your point's well taken. But I like to research things and find things out. And when I don't know what something is, I like to look it up and find out about it. And so, but it is understandable that many people in the general public aren't going to have the time for that. And I probably technically don't have the time, but And I also have the weird thing in that the science I'm interested in is not the science that affects my day-to-day life, but I'm interested mostly in things like astrophysics. And particularly I'm interested in what goes on with light, because much of what we are able to see in the universe around us is electromagnetic radiation. And I find it a fascinating topic when I see people present on it, and I want to find out more about it. And in order to do that, I think what's going to end up happening is at some point in my life, if I live long enough, I'm going to try to go back to university and study more about physics at a higher level than I already have, which is basically pre-university level, high school, and some of the courses I took from talking to Dr. Tapp. Some of the courses I took are going there. I can't be nearly ending and start talking about astrophysics. Well, I am though, Zach. I really am. I'm ending in 10 minutes. I'm going to wrap this up. And oh yeah, Beamsy, you're 3 years into an astrophysics degree, and I hope that's going well, Beamsy. I think that's awesome. Well, you know what? You know what, Zach? If I stream tomorrow, and I probably will, if I stream tomorrow, I'll do the whole show about astrophysics. How's that sound? Is that fair, Zach? And Zach, I don't know if I know you're like on the other side of the Atlantic, and so maybe you're at the end of your day, and maybe this is a good time for you to have a chat. But Zach, I should have you on my channel to have a chat, and maybe vice versa too. Zach's a great creator of content and a great just a personable person, and 4 in the afternoon for you. Yeah, so I don't know. Are you? And Zach, I don't, investigate a lot about what you're up to. And yeah, you're 1 a.m. in Australia. So Beamsy's burning the midnight oil, as they say. Zach is just getting ready to make tea. Anytime, any place. Okay, yeah, because Zach, I don't know what your situation is work-wise and whatnot. But over the next week or so, this will be my last time to do the sort of like general midday for me in Eastern time zone. You don't do much but edit YouTube videos. Okay, very good. Because like I'm gonna get back in my truck or my lorry, because Beamsy would know me as a truckie, I think. Zach would know me as a lorry driver, an HGV driver. And you can't talk as Wednesday and Saturday. Okay, very good. Yeah, yeah, and yeah. Zach's in the UK, and I may be wrong on remembering this, but if I remember correctly, Zach's in the UK, but grew up in New England and Maine. And then was moved, I don't think by his own volition exactly, to the UK, but and you've learned how to speak a little bit like a Brit, and probably I don't know if you also have like a New England, an England and a New England accent. That would be hilarious. I don't know what the combo would be. I'm sure that's what you have. But when I hear you talk, I hear a little bit more of a UK affected accent than a New England accent. Um, okay, here we go. Beamsy is saying something. The way of lensing electromagnetics work around gravitational singularities that is referred to as well within space-time. If you can reverse it so it becomes a peak along the space-time. That seems like you got cut off by the word count there, Beamsy, so keep going if you want to. Completely lost your main accent. I used to get Irish a lot. Okay. And one of the things, I don't know if this is still true, but the Gaelic languages were spoken with greater acuity and greater frequency, or amongst a larger population in Newfoundland, was my understanding, than were still spoken. But like the number of people that still spoke Gaelic in Newfoundland was higher than the people that still spoke it in Ireland or any part of the British Isles, which I realize are separate things, because like there's Ireland, the country, and then there's British or United Kingdom, which includes, I think, I'm gonna fuck this up. Is North? I think I don't want to fuck this up because I can't remember UK politics as well as I should. But from what I understand, there's Ireland. The Ireland part of Ireland, the island, has also Northern Ireland, which is like a British held piece of Ireland, and there's like a lot of the fighting in Northern Ireland was over that land, and I hope a lot of They because they weren't being harassed by the English in Newfoundland. Yeah, Sumami, you're probably not. You're probably not wrong about that. And I actually is mental because there's also Viking. Yes, yes, you're right. You're right, Zach. And if I take us down the road into like Newfoundland, history, politics, etc., we're never going to get anywhere. What I will say is, I love visiting Newfoundland. It is one of the most beautiful provinces. Although, as I said last week in one of my streams, the whole country is full of beautiful places. And I have yet to visit the territories, and I've yet to visit Labrador. And I want to travel further into northern Ontario. Like one of the people in my fellowship travels to Moosonee and Moose Factory for their work, and they are part of. They're an Indigenous person, and they work with Indigenous people there. The Viking context was with Indigenous peoples, not the Irish and the English who settled it. Yeah, way later. Yeah, absolutely. Sumami, you're correct. And Brainless, yes, I know Brainless. You've traveled here to Canada, and I believe Brainless. When you know Brainless and I know each other quite a bit from hanging out at Slim's channel, and we've spoken privately. And I believe you said you've traveled to my neck of the woods here in Southern Ontario, but I can't remember. I think you said you went some other places. We're the last held out for the Celtic Welsh languages my family still speak. Okay, very good. Beamsy, it'd be interesting to have you here for that conversation. And I realize Sumami is well read on so many things. And Sumami, I think, has a mix of heritage, but also I think maybe like just knows a lot about things because she's a curious cat. So it'd be great to get Sumami. I'd love to have you come on my channel one time and just have a chat about what you're interested in, aside from your Sims family. Although we could talk about your Sims family too. There's a lot of people that come and hang out that I'd love to have on for a conversation. Beamsy's 97% Welsh. Well, that explains a lot, doesn't it? I actually have Welsh. I have Welsh family by marriage, and Welsh family by blood too, because my cousin's Welsh, born in Wales, and is a blood relative, but her father is Welsh by birth, and now lives in France. But this is one of those situations where like and my aunt may not want to hear this, but like I think so much more highly of my cousins, and I have two cousins. I like both of those people. I think more highly of their father than I do of their mother, who is my blood relative. And I won't get into that in any tremendous way. My aunt may not want to hear that, but yeah, must not say, must not say. Beamsy, I don't know. Beamsy, you gotta calm down with the sheep comments. A lot of us have small bits in us. Yeah, I don't think that's a computer comment, is it? Denisovin and Neanderthal. Yes. So, mommy, I believe I actually found it. I have a large Neanderthal genetic component in my history somewhere, which I don't think is a surprise to people that see me or meet me. But part Neanderthal, Native American, Viking, Slavic, Scottish, Polish, and there is something else I can't remember. So when I did 23andMe, I'm very largely coming from Germany and France, but when you get like it's they just call France and Germany one place in Northern Europe, and then they have Scandinavia split it. So I have Scandinavian, and when you do the deep dive, so I help the other one is sort of what would be the islands north of Europe that are like basically Wales, Scotland, Ireland, and England, and so I have when you do the deep dive in the 23andMe, it basically shows most of my heritage being Germany and most of it being Irish, Scottish, and English, and they're pretty mixed. But I have like there's some deep connections in Ireland and England, a little bit of Scotland, but it's mostly Ireland. Um, Big chunk of English and a bunch of German, and then there's this other part that is Scandinavian that's mostly Danish, and then I have this really, 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 really tiny bit um, of a Cypriot, which is Cyprus, which is interesting. It's just a curious piece of history in my background. Yeah, and yeah, she okay. And you guys are making penis jokes, which is awesome. So I said I would end at 15 minutes into this thing. I'm gonna wrap this up to say that genetics can be a huge component of where people develop their body type from, in terms of like living with a larger body, a predisposition to inherit things that bring obesity. And so that's something I'm curious about and looking into. But I'm gonna look into more of this like gut biome stuff and see where they're at with that, because I heard that the research wasn't really well done enough to like say anything specific. And I will say, like, I really appreciate the fact that we come from disparate places around the world, and it's kind of awesome that, and I think right now we have representatives in my chat from the USA, from Europe, and from the USA we have Sumami's in Florida, Zach's in the UK, I think in England, but from Maine originally. Beamsy is in Australia, but claims to be mostly Welsh. Um, and Brainless is in the Netherlands, and I don't know what else he says about him, his background. Northwest Indian and the Irish are doing the heavy lifting DNA. Yeah, Irish, Cornish, Norwegian, Scottish, Swiss, German, Iberian, and Northwest Indian. And I'm assuming Northwest Indian is from India, like from the subcontinent of India. That's cool, Tsumami. Yeah. Anyway, I'm wrapping the show up. I appreciate, as always, people coming by. And yeah, since I have a week left at home before I'm going to push myself into work one way or another, unless I take like a big U-turn in it, I'm going to keep going. What time is physics talk tomorrow? I don't know, Zach, but I'll try to post it. I'll try to post it. It's going to depend on what I can get done with my truck too. Like, I think I got to fix my truck today or tomorrow. If I can. Psychic call line with Big Al. Yes, Sumami. I am not a psychic. Be nice if I could see the future. The thing is, what I've been doing is I've been waking up and doing this, and the other thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be changing my sleep patterns back to being a trucker. And I've got to get an X-ray and a blood test this week too. So, but what I'm going to try. So when I'm a trucker, day to day, I mean, I'm always a trucker because I got diesel in my blood and everything. When I'm a trucker, what ends up happening? Call yourself Mother Trucker and do psychic call-ins. That's fucking hilarious. You know what I'd love to do is play my new truck driver song for people, and I should figure out a way to do that. But I think what I'm going to do is, on my way out, I'm going to go and play one of my songs from my own channel, right? Can I do that? I think I can. Because I can go to my history, right, and play my own song. So I played the Quote Mine one earlier. I was listening to oh, they're great. I've been watching a lot of garbage. And you know what? You know what I realized? I'm really easily taken in by titties on the internet. I should not be. Bad Science Sunday was great last night, by the way. If you didn't see it, go watch it. My family's been watching Jeff Foxworthy, who I don't know like is a tremendously wonderful character, but my videos. So if I go to my videos, can I play? I just want to play one of my videos. Posts, right? Can I do this? The Suno song. Here we go. I don't know. These are public. The 19th of October. See, I don't know. Is this a good song to play? Right? I reimagine my kid's story. Oh, this is my kid's story. Okay, we're gonna play this one then, right? Can I just play this? I don't know if I can. This is like this is just the images. I don't freaking know. Here's the link. Here's the link to it. Okay, here we go. Can I just play this though? I don't know how to play it. It's annoying. It's annoying that I can't just play my own shit. Oh, here we go. Oh, Slim's gonna be on later. Playlists. Playlist. Here we go. This is how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go to my song. Here we go. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna okay, so I'm gonna share this one. Yeah, I'll try to come by Slim's for sure. So I'm gonna present. I'm gonna share my screen, and I'm gonna do this one here. Okay, so I'm sharing this one. I'm gonna play this.
Now off with the grapefruit spoon, trying digging tunnels like a hopped up loon. Blowing gas, trashing tools, don't stop me now, I'm a tunneling fool. Tunneling. I got Kango hammer, mammer jammer, doing demo, hot as a manners, drooping stone, broken bones, a building department I'll never phone. I gotta need to go deep, cause fallout shelters help me sleep. I'm eating dust, munching glue, doing this work with no effing clue. I got a welder, I got a knife, I got some lumber, I do not fatty life. I got a truck, it's really crappy. I've got skills, it counts like dashy. Just piece of work that collapses. It's the result of depth up synapses. Where this goes, well I don't know. I'll have to laugh and eat ice cream out of a cone. Give me some more time to make mistakes. I'm cutting holes, I'm undermining, I'm spending thousands, I'm spending nights. I'll never have a fine to set this mess all right. Bad ideas, I got lots. I don't need concrete when I can use tater tots. They rent tools, but that's not for me. I'm in my own way, so soon I'll have to flee. Oh no, my contraption, it's made of wood. But if anyone else do, steel is what is good. I keep hearing that this is dumb, but what do they know? I'll just bite my thumb. I'll build some formwork, but not strong enough. When it collapses, I may not be so tough. I'm tunnel lady, I've come unhinged. I've torn my plug up with a jackhammer bench. Tunneling. I'm not super bright. If there's a wrong way, I won't do it right. I got a welder, I got a knife, I got some lumber, I do not value life. I got a welding, I'm not super bright. If there's a wrong way, I won't do it right.
All right, yeah. So thank you for joining me. Yeah, I let that song play. That was a fun song. I wrote that one the other night when someone mentioned over at DC's channel. Someone said, I forget which lady it was. It was one of the nice ladies there that's very supportive. There's so many great ones. You're cutting the floor plan out of a tow truck right now. Oh Jesus, Top, that sounds terrible. But I wish you were here because you might want to help me change my pinion seal. Because my rear end is leaking. And if you don't understand mechanics, you probably think I'm saying something super, super dirty. But yeah, they got the rear end's leaking in my Colorado. I got to fix it. It's pissing me off right now. Anyway, I'm going to sort it all out. I got to write an email to my kids. Someone at my kids' school. Oh, man, we got problems coming out left, right, and center. Thank you, everyone, for coming by. As always, appreciate everyone's support. And yes, I will. Yeah, Zach, if I try to figure things out, I'll let you know. And I'll try to plan it out to have a conversation with the stuff I find interesting. Thank you, everyone.